Hello! The last video of 2020. Woohoo! Feels like a big celebration. No, do you see what I'm doing here again? I have a picture from a demonstration from a workshop I did earlier in the year. And it's fuchsia. No, it's not. It's tulips. Tulips, honest to God. I keep going back to saying fuchsia for some reason. Anyway, so this is a demonstration picture that I started in a workshop, and these demonstration pictures have a fair amount of kind of gung-ho energy about them that I quite appreciate. Like, I remember the feeling of being slightly nervous and people watching and wanting to pass on the kind of freedom and joy and expressive quality of this way of working with mixed media, while at the same time wanting to like have something to show, you know, that feeling of kind of success that we're always I think pursuing a tiny bit as well, but it has to take a back seat in order to allow something richer and more fresh to come through. And so I appreciate looking back on these demonstration pictures. I kind of appreciate the life in them and the memory of courage, I suppose. And it's a lovely reminder for me that that's okay, you know, that it's okay to splash about and play. And the things that I teach in my workshops are very often what I need to hear mostly myself in my own practice, to avoid that rigid fear of the unknown, you know, that thing of being willing to embrace the unknown instead and take that leap of faith necessary. And every time we turn up at the blank paper on the canvas, that itself is a leap of faith. So it's a direct achievement already, you know. Anyway, now those tulips are long gone. But these tulips here are, you know, they're going to work. Like, in actual fact, the white tulips there are floppy in the way that the tulips here are. But the colour of them is in the more, the red ones are kind of more straight. So what I've got is the kind of floppiness of the white ones for the shape, and then the straighter red ones for the colour. So I'm going to stick with, I don't know what I'm going to stick with, but I'd imagine I'll still keep the width of these, the two tulips that are on either side. I like that diagonal spread there, and so I'll keep that, and maybe I'll include, you know, that drooping one that's coming forward here. That might be quite a nice one to include. I don't know, I'm kind of setting myself up as soon as I start to make a plan, like, so I'll just kind of join with you on this adventure now, and let's see what happens. I've been ferrying about folk during the day here, and you know, it took Maisie to get her bandage off. Got a tire replaced because I had a puncture last night. I had to put the gel stuff into the tire. I was driving on a back road and had to look up on YouTube because I expected to see a spare tire in the boot, but there was no spare tire, only this pot of gel stuff. Anyway, we've replaced the tire. Maisie's got her bandage off. She's got a bigger cone because her tongue was getting round the other cone. And she's sorted. Erin's gone to sit in her friend's garden for a wee while. Lily's upstairs, and we're okay. I've had a couple of takeaway coffees, so that's probably why I'm feeling this kind of dynamic thing. But I'd say it's also the end of the year, and that feeling of entering into the watershed threshold kind of a new year beginning feels like, you know, there's a potential there for something joyful and new to arise. So that also is energizing me. It's not only the caffeine and the chocolate, actually. I've had chocolate too, quite a lot of chocolate. What was I going to say? And later I'm going to sit by a fire with a friend outdoors and set a few intentions for the new year, and maybe chuck some things in the fire to represent what no longer serves me. So there you are, covering all quarters there. All right, so here we go. Tulips. Tulips, tulips, tulips. I thought I might do a newsletter too, if I think of it. I said that the other day. Maybe after this it'll be quite good to put out a newsletter after today. We've got the start of the online courses and all the rest of it. Now this pot I love. I really love the bright red of that, red-orange of that pot. That's a lot of orange paint I just stuck on there, isn't it? That's a lot of orange paint. Oh, jeepers. So I'm going to take some of that orange paint off, put it on the palette, because I might use it later. Yeah, that's all right. I'll sit that there. There's some on my finger now, let me see. So the bright side is here. I was actually planning on doing this in daylight, but I was still driving around, dropping and collecting, so I missed the natural light, but actually this light is fine too, you know, it's going to work. Okay, so I'm going to first, I think maybe, like, actually the brown for the piano is fine there. I was going to say I could have bronzed something different underneath the orange pot, but maybe the orange pot is the thing that wants to sing out most here. So let me just see. I need to chuck away the ink that's the pots of ink that are finished. Let's just see what this is. Right, so that will be, gosh, I am really quite high. You probably could tell there. I can feel a little frisson of nausea in my belly almost from the caffeine, and I'm even slightly shaking, my goodness. Okay, so maybe a New Year resolution might be to soften the whole caffeine intake a bit. Right, now I'm going to pick up my 2-inch brush, some more of this orange. Can you see all right there? I'm going to do that because I think you might be able to see then the runway and the paraphernalia that's around me a little bit more clearly if I've got, yeah, that'll do. Hopefully that'll work. All right, so a bit more, yeah, of that orange. And there are the baubles on the tree now that I'm hitting into there. Where did I put the red paint? Oh, here it is. Okay, so we've got crimson, because I think there's a crimsonish feel to that orange. I'm just going to use a different brush, it's drier. And let's see what that looks like. And I probably have too much paint on there again now, like, so what I'm going to do is clean the brush, and scoop out where the leaf will be overlapping the pot. And I'm actually going to take off some of that paint by printing. That's okay. All right, there we are. I was thinking too about collage. I forgot all about collage there. So what am I going to do now next? I think maybe it's the leaves that need expression next. Let's get some Hooker's green. Could really use, rather than squirting the paint directly onto the paper, I'm just going to squirt it onto the onto the top of these takeaway things. We've had a fair few takeaways now, to be honest with you. More Erin and Lily really than me. Okay, so that's why I've got quite a few of these plastic containers, but we've decided now for having a takeaway it'll be once a week maximum. I mean, once a week is even still quite a lot, isn't it? Anyway, we'll see. Okay, so this is the Hooker's green to describe any darks in the leaves there. And just to get a feeling for light, there's this one shooting out here now that I could just, you keep it red, but it's actually, here it's white. But I think I'll keep it red because I quite like the red tulips. And there's another dark green colour there. My eyes are like this now, half closed all the time, so that I'm seeing the darks and lights and not any unnecessary detail at this point. Very often we don't need to see the detail at all, actually. Or maybe it's something like the whatever is revealed is enough, you know, like in that first glance. Once that glance is clean enough and there's no, and it's really attentive, or just really present, I think we see enough then. All right, there we are. Yeah, and it's not something that's actually premeditated either really, that kind of clean seeing. It's something that kind of occurs on its own, so I can't really say that I'm doing anything very important there. It's just happening. I think actually the reward of showing up at the easel is that kind of attention. Something that kicks in. It doesn't demand anything of us, just to be here. That's all. Now, you see there's a nice white one there as well, but I'm gonna still, I think I'll keep that red too. And there was a green leaf down there, and then there's this tulip coming forward that's white there. Alright. I need to kind of make some decisions about what to include and what not to include here. So let me just see now. There's something about the entry into that flower needs to be clearer. And some of these leaves I could maybe work a bit more. I think I do want to have this drooping one here, and maybe one that goes up there. So this one will be painted really lighter green than this now, but for now I'm just going to put it in as it's overlapping the vase here. Okay. Alright, that's okay. And then I think I will do the white one up there, yeah, so it'll be kind of around there. The white will be around there, but it's the green that I'm just placing first. And the green will be placed down here. And then there'll be white flower there, white flower there. Okay, and I could use a little bit of kitchen paper that's damp in order to draw back in the way that I do. I quite like to do that drawing back in thing. I don't even know if this has gesso on it, you know, I don't think it does. So maybe the drawing back in won't really happen here, because you need to have the surface primed with gesso in order for it to really effectively lift off. So this is something new now that's going to happen, I'm not sure really, but subduing it by just generally wiping it is making me feel excited there. I quite like the transparent quality of that green. And now it feels like I could do something with the tabletop. What did I do? I think I'll bring in some ultramarine blue. Midnight, honest to God, if you start drinking that water now, you'll make yourself sick. Where did I put the red? Ultramarine blue and the red together I think will give me a colour for the tabletop that might work. So there's the red and ultramarine blue. Probably I could do with putting a touch of yellow into it as well, but for now let's just see what it looks like. And you know the thing that I quite like to do, well, she's going for the clean water at least. That's good. I'm going to have myself some chilli. I made some nice chilli yesterday. I'm going to have that. And that might soak up the old caffeine and settle me down a small bit more. So I'm covering that now with masking tape. You know the way I quite like to do that. No, in actual fact, the piano is lighter than the piano is really lighter than the pot is there, but I've started so I'll finish, as they say, and I can always make the pot a little bit darker afterwards. I'm wanting to put some yellow into that because it's more purple than I want. There we are. So there's the piano, a bit more yellow again even. Oh, look at you, all sideways. Can't even see what I'm up to. This is the Banjaxed iPad holder. I don't know where my good one has gone. With all my decluttering, it'll be in a cupboard somewhere, most likely. Hopefully not in the second-hand shop somewhere. I was worried last week because the children were looking for shoes and I thought, holy God, I hope I didn't put the wrong box of shoes into the second-hand shop. But thank God they found the ones they were looking for, so far so good. I know I've heard stories about people having to go back and buy back their shoes from the second-hand shop or whatever it was that they gave away by mistake. Now, I could see that being something that might happen in my house, but it didn't, thank God, touch wood, and it's not going to happen. Let's just put out, I won't energize that thought, as they say. So that's the red. Maybe inject a little bit of red into the others just with my hand there to kind of, and you know that's white, but I'm going to make it red because it started out life as a red tulip and I'm going to carry it on being red. And there'll be enough of the white ones. That's also red, isn't it? Yeah, we'll see. Okay, now I lift this off. Alright, so that's the edge of the thing. I think the background could do with something. There's no value in the background there, it's just grey really. And I don't know if I want to make it grey or I think a kind of a lilac would work. This is more sparse. Now the amount of flowers that are in here are much fewer than what's there. I think the next thing I'm going to do is to brighten the white flowers, because in all cases they're just about brighter than the background. So if I do that first with some white paint, the white paint stayed wet from yesterday, so I've got some on my thumb there now that I can put on for the flower here. There's a white tulip there, and then the white tulip that's up here. I'm glad I put the green all over the place there because the white tulip is standing out for me to see, and I can tell whether or not it's going to work compositionally, and I reckon it is. So there's only the two white ones now. Is that enough, I wonder? I might stick that white one in there too. It's a bit like when you're arranging flowers, to have three of a thing is compositionally more sound than having 2 or 4. Odd numbers rather than even numbers. Okay, it wouldn't be one of my videos, would it, without some sort of tumult in the location of the camera. No, what am I doing? I'm looking to put a colour in the background that's like kind of a greyish. I quite like that. Okay, so where now is the PVA glue. Now I'm just going to use the Pritt stick. I thought somehow it looks quite good there. I think this bit of paper, and it reminds me a bit of the colour of the wall behind, but it's giving it something a bit more substantial than just a plain wall. I could do with putting a bit of wallpaper up in this room, I reckon, but for the purposes of the painting, let's test it out. A little bit there too, and I think I'm going to use that now as my colour for to aim for when I'm putting paint on the background. Where's the cover? Down here. Okay, we're getting places, aren't we? When I look at the screen, I can't see that flower at all, so I need to give that a bit more substance. Put a bit of a thumbprint of red in there. See, that balances it out a little bit, I reckon. And I'll probably end up using ink to draw around them because I quite like that line of ink as a way of explaining the tulip, shape of the tulip. Alright, so now what my job is to make a colour, not unlike that, for the background to fit in between the spaces of the, to explain the shape of the space between the leaves and between the flowers and stuff. So I think if I was to mix sap green, I think that's sap green, is it? Yeah, sap green and orange together, it'll give me a warmish colour that might look a bit like that background grey. A little bit more orange. I might need to actually inject some red in there, I'd say, and some blue maybe. Yeah, I'm going to go with the ultramarine blue and a touch of the crimson. It's getting closer. Oh gosh, there's still quite a lot of crimson on my fingers. Just a touch more of the ultramarine, I'd say, will nail it then. Subdues it a little bit more. That's the colour I'm after, but I don't think my fingers are going to do the job for most of it, are they? No. Actually, this part I've chosen to paint is actually the brightest part of the wall, so I think I'm going to need to brighten it up as it meets the tulip there. But there's a bit in here, and again I need more white in it really, and I'll probably end up using a square brush to explain these parts with my eyes half closed, though there are bits that are the colour that I've got on my fingers. And over here it's very dark in the background. I can kind of, there, I can paste on a bit over there. Something kind of interesting, I think, in the quality of mark made by my fingers too. It's just quite a nice way to put the paint on. I would recommend it, to be honest with you, as a therapeutic thing. Putting the paint on with your fingers. What am I doing now here? I think I need to pull the background into the still life a little bit more. Oh, I've covered the white flower there. But I will be bringing some white into the background, like I said, too. But the fact that the wall behind at the moment, the white paper, wasn't really doing it for me. Like, I wanted it to be a little bit, given some bit of a tone. So I'm okay with it being slightly darker than it really is just now. And I'm more than okay with this kind of playing about, because actually that feels very good to do that. The buttery texture of the paint on my fingers and pushing it in. I'm involved in the painting, fully involved. There's no middleman. It's just my fingers moving around, a bit like dancing. There's some kind of wisdom in the body, I think, that you know, that we can engage in, and paint is one way of doing it. I think, you know, music, all these other ways, dance and everything, you can, and even cooking. So maybe some people do it through I don't know, singing, all the rest of it, words, poetry. Okay, so there's the capacity to link in with that thing that's just intuitive, and your body just does whatever it wants to do, and your body doesn't care what the outcome is, it just feels what it feels, and that's kind of exciting to let it have its way. Now, gosh, that was quite tiring. In a lovely way, though. What about this? I kind of feel like this tea towel is a good colour for that leaf. And the fact that it stands out in the foreground. I need to get the scissors though, because I want there to be a point at the end. Sorry, now I'm going to be shaking you. Sorry about that. See, I want there to be a point at the end of this. And it wasn't going to tear with the point, it was just going to tear with the... So let's see if that works. And I need to find the proper PVA, because I don't think... Yeah, here it is. Because the Pritt stick wouldn't cut it. Yeah, I'm just going to try that. You know, for this leaf that's standing out in relief, it's the one that's closest to me as well. So I'm just going to see if that's going to be satisfying as a leaf there. I like it. It's maybe not quite as bright as a dirty tea towel. Not quite as bright as the leaf is, but maybe the oil pastel will work over it. And I'm sure certainly that the soft pastels will work over that. And there's another leaf here. Sometimes when you put down two of the same thing, it gives it more impact and makes it read more successfully. You know, when you put it in more than one place, we begin to believe that it's a leaf. And I think there's a third spot available there. Now this is the border of the tea towel has got a greener quality to it. So that's what I'm going to do for the leaf over here that reads a bit brighter and is a bit more of a significant landmark in this still life as a whole. Just put some on that bit there to make sure it's kind of flush at the top, because it's bending over. Okay, you could do with being closer as well, couldn't you? Because you can't even really see that that's tea towel and not paint, I think. I'm not sure if you can or not. Anyway, best of luck with it. Okay, so that there is a bit of tea towel. And I think I'll re-establish, yes, I'm going to re-establish the red, orange red of that lovely vase. I could use this fluorescent ink in the first instance, see if that would stand out. I think it does. Maybe I didn't need to have it all over there. That's okay. And the other thing I could use is one of these, you know, now the glorious chalks, but they often come in more successfully towards the end. Unless actually I might end up using them to describe some of these. You know how I was wanting to use the line for the ink? I think actually now that I've got tea towel in the mix and everything here, what's needed is something more dramatic as a line. I'm making this one up. More dramatic, more dominant as a line for the flowers than the ink would be. So I'm just gonna do my best to use as reference the tulips that are there, and then just believe that actually what's not there will be somehow will transmit itself without me having to flounder too much there. So this is a white tulip, but I'm making it pinky red. I like that pink colour in there as a slightly darker version. It works for the colour of these particular tulips anyway. I mean, when I first started painting this demonstration picture, I'd imagine it actually was more red, that the tulips were more red, but these tulips are they have a bit of a pinkish quality to them, so I'm okay with injecting that pink into them. And I'm going to bring in too some chalk to describe the rest of these leaves, and even possibly on the tea towel too. And this one that's flying up there is lovely. I don't know, how will I describe the oh, here we are. I was going to say, how would I describe the slight shadow that's in the white tulips, and I'm doing it with this colour that just popped out there when I said that, which is not unlike the background colour, but because it's chalk I think it's different enough, and I think it works. And I'll use it here too, although really this tulip is best explained by being bright, brighter than anything else in the picture, I think, because it's in the foreground, it's standing out in the light, and it helps me to have that as a bright anchor on the right hand side of the pot. I might bring some of that on. Oh, that's a red one, you see. There we are. So this is white chalk I'm putting on. Yeah, okay. I was also considering maybe including some white in the background, you know, where it meets the, no, what I'm going to do instead is either use green, yeah, I'll use a dark green chalk, I think, to describe the leaves first and see if that will work. Instead of painting the white patches of background coming through, I'm going to deepen the tone first of the leaves with the soft pastels where I can. Quite dark there on either side of that. So like this, they say that the darks are like the bass in music, they hang it all together. And so I'm relying on this dark to hang it all together. Yeah, do you know what? I think the pointy end of the tulip is something that gives it character of tulip. The pointy end of the leaf, the kind of undulating nature. There's some poem, isn't there, about tulips gracefully growing old, and that we could take a leaf out of their book, how they just kind of gently tumble into old age, and they still look, there's something graceful and beautiful about how they collapse. So I'm just using the soft pastel to create some shadow and contrast. I'm not sure I want to rely too heavily on the soft pastel here. And I could also use some oil pastel. And once I've done the dark, let me just see this one as well. There's kind of a greyish quality to this green that I like. It's like a silver. See that colour? Silvery green. Once I've done the leaves, I can then stand back and decide whether or not I need more information from the background colour. If I need to sculpt more the shape of the background as it meets. I think there could be some more order. It might just be a simple dynamic line across there to describe where the wall stops and the piano starts. Maybe I'll try that. So I've got a drawing board here I could maybe use as that line. I'll do it this way actually, because the colour in my hand is the colour in my hand is a dark brown. That looks like it would work. Oh god, it's just falling apart. These are lovely, but they're very they're powerfully pigmented, but they are also very brittle. So when they fall, that's it. They fall and break, and that's the end of them. So now I'm just pushing dust into the paper, really. What do you think of that idea? I think it gives it a bit more substance. There's a bit more anchoring down, you know, there's a weight in the tabletop there now, I find. I don't know what's happening here there. Are you going up and down in every which way? Okay, so there's a bit of weight, yeah. Okay, that's kind of doing it. And I think underneath the vase too, I could do with the cast shadow of the pot there to serve as an anchor as well. And of course I was saying that actually it looks to me as though the pot itself is darker than the table is there. Maybe do that. That's all right, yeah. Well, I'm certainly christening my painting top anyway. Every time I put my hand away, I'm wiping it on my top. So we're getting this nicely broken in. Alright, so I don't know where the rest of that brown chalk went, but I'm moving on now to the ultramarine blue ink, which is that ink that I got from Lidl earlier in the year that's been fierce handy. It was meant to be a spray, but actually I've ended up just using it as a stick because the spray got stuck fairly early on. It's an acrylic ink, and I don't know if we can ever get it again. It's acrylic spray by Crea Box, Creabox. Might be able to find it if I look it up. Anyway, it could be one of those things that just had its moment of glory this year. Might be something different next year that'll turn up on Lidl's shelves that might be useful. One of my favourite dresses I got from Lidl, $12.99. It's a long kind of, I fancy myself as a kind of a goddess, an earth goddess in that dress. And it was from Lidl, you know. So it's incredible really, the things you can find. an inspired moment. Okay, now I like that one that's coming forward, but I think it needs to be explained with a yellowy stem, a yellowish green stem, which looks like this colour, rather than the dark blue really. And I think I could use that in some other places as well. Yellowish green. Come down here too. A bit there. Maybe here as well. So how are we doing? See, the background is still quite lively, and I want the tulips to be the things with the life in them rather than the background. Don't want the background dominating too much, you see. So I'm going to go back with a square brush, and I think I'll fill in some of these leaves, darken in a substantial way the darks, so that they come forward rather than the background being the dominant thing. But I really don't want that now to be a pasty green that has white in it. Instead, I'm going to put some dark blue in it and just really make it dynamic. That background colour is still a little bit wet, you see, and it got into the green there and made it seem a bit chalky. Right, with my eyes half closed, there are other places where that dark green is evident. And those are the bits that I'm filling in without too much, no labour involved there, just trusting that the bits that are revealed to me in the dark are those bits that need to be explained right now. And we'll see then when I stand back if the background still needs subdued. A little dance with the Christmas tree every time I step back. Alright, and there's actually a shadow. Might be a useful shadow to describe. And covering the yellow, it's covering the orange. So it's the shadow cast by that leaf there onto the pot. I think it has a darker quality. Could be as dark as the shadow down there really. So that's that leaf there. Anything that helps to describe the depth of field that the thing sits in is helpful. And I reckon that shadow is describing, hopefully, the space between the leaf that's casting the shadow and the shadow itself. No, that needs to be a different colour. I think it needs to be yellow and sap green mixed together. That silvery grey seemed like a good idea at the time, but now it feels like it needs to be made more similar colour to the rest of the leaves there. Let's see what that's like. It's okay. Probably needs a bit more white in it, but for now I think it's all right. It's quite dark. Yeah, you see, I probably need to put some more white into that green. If I'm putting, I don't know, it's sugar. It's way too much white there. I can always prepare another board for tomorrow. I think if I'm putting any colour onto that tea towel, I need to make it clean, cohesive, clear. I don't want to risk it not standing out and just being a lump of muddy greenery. So I'm hoping that I've not subdued it now, but lifted it by putting that white onto it. And I think I'll use the same here. That one, it's okay, I think. And probably on the third bit of tea towel that's over here too. Just lighten that one up as well. How are we looking? Getting there, I think, yeah. Okay. I would say that I could use some of that white in the background. Now, do you remember that background colour I made earlier that I was using my hands to paste it on? Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is take the white from that palette and put it on here and make the background colour lighter so that I can use it, for example, to more clearly outline this flower here and the leaf that it touches. I mean, there's two leaves there. I don't know which one to go with. I'll just leave them both maybe. How's that? I like that. Alright, and now I'm going to still outline, even although there's none there, I'm going to pretend it's still there. I think that's a good place for a flower. Okay, and I think, would it be good to have some over there maybe, so it's not quite, so that it's not quite so, I think it needs to be darker. The background is a bit darker there than up here, so that's all right. But what I wanted to get rid of there was the texture of my fingerprints underneath. I mean, it's kind of enough to know that there's fingerprints under there. That gives me a pleasing feeling, but I didn't want them to be so dominant. My arm is hurting, you know, that was quite a, ow. I think I've been doing a bit of expressive dance the last wee while, and I think I've really pulled a muscle in that upper bicep, so it's a little bit sore. I used to always think, like, when your arm gets sore, to drop it and stop. It's a sure sign you need to do something somewhere else. So I suppose I'll keep that in mind as well. But at the same time, if it's an injury, it might not be necessary to stop every time it's sore, because then I'd probably get nothing done, because it's a little bit sore anytime I lift it up. So there's that background, which is brighter over here. Comes down to meet the collage bits. There's the collage there. And then there's a dainty little leaf that's quite dark and dynamic, pointing down there. And I like the space in here between that leaf that's just falling down. It's totally given up the ghost, that leaf, and it's just accepting its fate. That's what I reckon about that leaf there. It's just on a downward trajectory and it's not fighting it. Alright, and then I know there's another leaf injecting into that space, but for now I just want to explain that space where the pot meets the space behind it there. It's kind of like a triangular shape of background space that's coming in there. But I don't want to miss the bulby bit of the pot that's coming out. Oh, that went very white, didn't it, when I put my finger there? Maybe need to put a bit more orange on that bit. A dirty orange. Okay, so yeah, I was liking that shape, but it's all a bit white now, so I think what I need to do is describe the other side of that despondent leaf. And then decide what happened next to it. That shape needs to be made a little bit lighter, so I'm just printing off the excess paint on there, and I'm going to use my baby finger to bring down the end of that leaf, and I'll put some more clean green paint onto that bit that I lifted out with my finger. You can hardly see it now, but there is some dark in there as well, so I'd say I could just use the ink to describe the dark. Could I? There we are. That's alright. Okay. I kind of like the line of that ink always. I like the way it just has a fine quality to it. Curve there too. down. What about that now? And there's something about that one. What's this? This is the sepia coloured ink. So see this one here? I want to describe that one so that it's easier to see. Lily, I'm doing a video just in case you start singing or something. I'd love her to sing on video, but she doesn't like that. Lily, did you hear me saying I'm doing a video, okay?
You're still doing it?
Yeah, I know, it's been a while. Still trying to pull out these tulips.
How ordered that Chinese?
I was just saying how we're getting lots of takeaways.
Yeah, but it's New Year's.
Yeah, I suppose on New Year's Eve it's not a bad thing. And you don't want any of that chili I made, do you?
It's last day of 2020, so we can spend it back like a year.
Right. So your children, they do things like ask for stuff when they know you're not going to argue with them. That's an example of that there. And thinking about it, I'm actually okay with her ordering a Chinese. Tonight it's all right. Right, so that sepia colour there might actually work to describe the cast shadow of the tulips on the wall behind, which has kind of a nice dancing quality. Like there's marks in the wall that are a bit expressive, and I don't know what to do about them really, if I want to include them or not, but just a couple is okay. This looks to me like the kind of picture where I'd like to put a mount around it and say right on you stop, because it might not need an awful lot more really. Yeah, I like this. So this is just paper that was wrapped around some flowers that I got. And I quite like the pattern on it, and I think it's similar enough to the paper that I used in the background there and there, which you can hardly see now really. Do I want that there, or do I want it more over here? I'll just put a touch. I put a touch there. I can just kind of play about with it really. I put a few bits and pieces, because I think, you see, the thing that happened there was that became less and less significant, that collage, and I quite liked having a bit of a pattern in the background. So just going to inject it here and there. I think it's a way of making the background read too as being different from the colour of the clear tulips. Just get some more glue from here, because I want this one to be here. There's more where that came from. I don't know if it's the kind of thing you could overkill on as well. It'd be good to include it up here though. So it's there where the white wall meets the collage that's already in place there. Yeah, that's okay. And like, I think I could maybe change the colour of the tabletop as well. I feel like I want to make it blue. It seems to me like it's a little bit kind of boring or something, the brown. Not sure if it really works in contrast to the tulips. Let's see. Need something there, I think. Right, I just need to put out some more glue. I don't know how long I've been doing this for. trying to pick up some glue from the bit where I originally put the collage on. Wanted to do that, but that's all right. Okay, right. Let's play about now with the. Let's play about with the tabletop. See, I don't know if it calls for something as dynamic as that even. That's what I did yesterday, wasn't it? I put on this blue. I think that blue works with the. I think that blue works with the vase, with the orange vase. Whew. Okay. You know, I got that coffee today and I sat in the car. I sat in the car for, I'd say at least an hour. Maisie sitting in the back seat, reading my book, dipping in and out of things on the radio and stuff. It's really quite a nice thing. Just now and then, nice thing to do. And I kind of thought, as I went into Costa, I thought, look, I'm probably going to want a second coffee. So I just got 2. And I think they make them especially hot these days, knowing that people won't be drinking them in store. Sometimes flat whites aren't very hot, but that was a good hot coffee. So I had the 2 of them sitting in the car. And yeah, I think, you know, I wouldn't make a regular habit of that now, because actually it's fairly heavy on the belly. That was the first thing I'd eaten today as well, the blueberry muffin with it. Alright, so that's that. And I think on the other side, oh look, I've got this ink. I don't know if there's any left in it there. Oh, there's silver. What was silver? I'm remembering too, I had a nice gold ink. Don't know where it's gone. Oh, and there's some gold dust that I got from Claire as well. What'll that be like? That'd be quite nice on there. Just to give those white tulips a different quality. But what I was considering was some gold. What was I wanting to use that gold for? Gold ink. What was I going to use it for? I was maybe going to draw around that with gold ink, was I? I don't know. Anyway. You see, that blue would have been lovely now, but that's the one that's ran out, isn't it? It is, yeah. It's the one that I need to throw away. So instead I'm going to find the same colour in here, or a similar colour. I'll just use the dark one there, I think. Alright, and I could always bring it down there. And down there. I'm going to turn this one on its side now. This is a bit brighter. I mean, I know it's slightly greener, but I think I get away with it. And I might even let it come into the still life a little bit too. To bring that into the leaves a little bit. That to me is a colour that really works with that orange you see in the pot. And that might be just the thing to kind of lift the situation here. What about that now? It's quite helpful, you know, to be able to look at it on the screen. When I look at it on the screen, it makes me do things that I would maybe do if I was just looking directly at it here. Okay. It's just all a bit samey. What am I thinking of there now? I think like the background there's all a bit, there's not an awful lot of contrast of light and dark really. And the only area that is contrasting is the tabletop, really. So let's just carry on and see. This is a slightly lighter blue. That's all right. And I think what I want to do now is to use a different colour chalk that hasn't been used yet to describe the peachy tulips, to make them just that little bit more, just to bring in another colour into them, so they're a little bit more, so they're more different in colour from the pot. And I think I could even err on the side of making them different, more different again, by bringing a lighter pink in. Is that going to be enough? I want to take the colour of the tulips away from the colour of the orange pot. And I'm going to do the same with the white tulips. In fact, I'm going to use a lilac. Instead of the grey that I had previously, I'm going to use a lilac to describe these whiter tulips. Yeah. I'm kind of okay with that, you know. I feel okay about it almost stopping now, really. What have I got this for now? Just a background, yeah. So maybe this chalk could be used in the background now. Just to clarify here and there some of these tulip flowers. I don't know what I'm going to do next, so I'd say that's a good time to stop. And if I did do any more to it, look at that, it's nearly an hour. If I did do any more to that, it'll happen later on. So just now I'm going to bring you a bit closer and let you see it, and then I'll put you shakily back onto. So I'm hoping now that you can see the painting there and the tulips I was looking at. And I'll put you back on here now to say goodbye to you, and I'll see you tomorrow.